their coverage of the confirmation hearing of Ketanji Brown Jackson, Fox News, specifically Fox and Friends hosts, Earhardt and Brian Kilmeade, gave some praise to Ted Cruz for bringing up critical race theory. Yeah, of course. Now, critical race theory, of course, is a graduate level curriculum in law school that looks into the influence of past racial discrimination and how that impacts the current opportunity and equity for people of color in this country. So now, the Republicans have taken this and have decided to make it seem as though critical race theory is taught through K through 12 school, which it's not, and that it means white people bad. So they've applied this moniker to anything that involves Black history and race relations in this country, and as such has become a part of the culture wars, because God forbid a parent or anyone else be made very uncomfortable having to explain why racism exists and why it's bad. So now I'm going to go to Ainsley Earhardt here and Brian Kilmeade, who said this.
And then when she comes to CRT, she said she's sitting on a board of a school that actually has CRT in the curriculum when she says it's part of college study.
Georgetown Day School?
Yes.
She said the board doesn't know if they're teaching CRT in the classroom, but every other school, I have so many friends on boards of school districts, and they do know what's being taught. And Ted Cruz brought out, I think it was Ted Cruz that brought out all these books from that school and said, this is what they're teaching in second grade. This is what they're teaching in third or fifth grade. And it's information I don't want my daughter to learn.
Oh, I don't want my daughter to learn about racism. Oh, okay, well, good news. Georgetown Day School is a private school. So, I mean, you don't have to send her there if you don't want to. I mean, look, all right, even though you probably should send her there so she doesn't grow up to be like Ainsley Earhardt. But that's the thing. They want to be ignorant of race relations in this country. They want to be racist. All right, look, if you want to be racist, well, go ahead and be racist, I guess, right? Just be prepared for the backlash. But then, it's not just that, though. They not only want to be racist, but they also want their children to be ignorant and to grow up to possibly be racist. And not just their own, but everyone's kids. They want to keep this stuff, all discussion about race relations out of the classroom and just out of society in general. Now, remember, these are the same people that have adjusted school textbooks to downplay the evils of slavery in this country. Oh, no. See, the slaves were just helpers, and the slave masters were very, very benevolent. So understand that is the messaging that they have always wanted to put out. And so understand, this ignorance is what they want to spread. This the whole thing that's behind this, right? And look, I can understand, by the way, the people that have been exposed to this propaganda thinking, okay, wait, why are my schools telling the kids they're racist? Well, first of all, the schools are not telling the kids that they're racist. They're not doing that. And by the way, nobody is inherently racist. Racism is a learned trait. It is learned ignorance, if you will. You have learned something that is just not true. Ignorance is the lack of knowledge about something, and you can learn things. That doesn't necessarily mean it's logic. Doesn't mean it's knowledge, right? You can have all sorts of information in your head that happens to be wrong, counterfactual. And that's what this is. They are trying to fill people's heads with things that are not true. Now, if you're going around and you've got a head full of things that aren't true, well, that makes you ignorant. That doesn't make you a bad person to be ignorant. You just don't have the facts. And so that's what we're doing. Ignorance can be fixed with knowledge. That's it. But again, there are certain people in power and certain politicians, there are certain media figures that do not want you to have that knowledge. Why do they not want you to have that knowledge? Well, because then if you do, you might want to actually do something about the problem here. The problem of, and I'm speaking of racism at this point. Why would they not want you to do that? Well, because there are certain people that have benefited greatly from those systems of oppression in this country. So, look, if people knew about how institutional racism impacts minorities, especially African Americans in this country, well, then generally most people would be in the mind to dismantle or reform those systems. That's it. But what about those who benefit from those systems knowingly, whether it be financially or through, mainly financially, but also through status, right? Well, obviously keeping those people in their place is better for them. And understand that this is who Ainsley Earhardt and the rest of the Fox News hosts actually work for. Fox News, remember, is a propaganda arm of the Republican Party. They're meant to push Republican talking points. Now, the Republican Party is still running on a form of the Southern strategy, dividing people over race. And what they're doing is they're appealing to white racists. And they're now using white grievance politics and sometimes a subtle form of the great replacement conspiracy theories. You're going to see in a different segment here, in order to scare people into supporting things like hardcore anti-immigration measures and to keep them distracted from economic policy. And they're using this culture war nonsense in order to do it. And so understand that that's what this entire thing is. It is a circus because these people want a circus to distract you from actually doing things that are going to help all of America.